And this is another edition of 3D Printing News Unpeeled. And today we're going to walk you through a number of news items. And first, we start with Lockheed. And U.S. defense giant Lockheed has been 3D printing a kind of novel part, actually. It's one of the things we don't really consider anymore, and but it's very important. So, the F-35 training logistics team was trying to make a full mission simulator for the F-35. It's a kind of cockpit, sit in it kind of flight simulator. They were doing this at the Orlando, Florida Rotary Mission Systems site, and that was those were 3D printed, and they 3D printed a number of these simulators, and they delivered the first ones to Cherry Point Air Force in 2022. Now, what they did is they 3D printed them on Titan Robotics equipment. That's an FDM, large-scale FDM system that's now part of 3D Systems. They then 3D scanned it. Then they put it in a milling system. And all through the while, they use the digital twin and the software to optimize production, know when parts are ready, to schedule parts so they would be ready at the same time from their own suppliers and from themselves. And they reduced the whole lead time of these systems by 75%. So I love the idea here of combining the 3D printing with the digital twin to have an efficiency. Also, we talk a lot about medium format and large format printers, and there's a lot of different applications. But what we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of really different, very valuable applications being unlocked by these 3D printers. So we're really seeing machines come to the fore and printing things like parts for super yachts, parts for aircraft, parts for general aviation aircraft, parts for large molds, parts for aerospace. And there's a lot of high value parts. There's no real killer app at this point. People have the tendency now to look at for killer app, like one thing that's going to work really, really well, or that's going to unlock this technology. What we're seeing in medium and large format, both pellet and filament, is that we're seeing a lot of stuff. Like people are 3D printing jacuzzis for super yachts or molds for swimming pools and stuff like this. And it's all over the place. So the medium format market seems to be a market, a lot of really valuable applications, but we're not noticing it because there's nothing like super obvious, like hearing aids that works like super well, and we're printing millions of it. So I just thought the health of this part of the segment of the industry, that's a very, very bright part of the segment of the industry right now, makes it very valuable parts. And it's also at the same time going through a kind of a shake out as people compete with each other. The next thing is the company C3 Nano. This company has just unveiled its Supergrid. Supergrid is a conductive ink mixture, and it's for low temperature curing silver nanowire ink or conductive ink. The curing temperature of this is 25 degrees Celsius, so it's quite low. And they see the applications for the semiconductor packaging and RF shielding for this. And they also would like to be lower cost than existing ink solutions overall. So this is another engaging thing. We really don't think of companies often doing electronics. We think of 3D printing electronics as some kind of far-fetched future, but companies like C3 Nano are using technologies right now to 3D print packaging and RF shielding and these kind of IC kind of applications. Now, another thing is like we don't have to have a lot of success in something like semiconductor packaging for there to be a huge volume. This is a business with, it depends what you include, but millions of parts, definitely. And, so we can have a little bit of success in one particular application, and all of a sudden that could be one of the largest applications out of manufacturing 3D printing. So we should really be more cognizant of the fact that this kind of stuff is happening now, not in some far different future, and more cognizant of the fact that it could become very, very large, very, very big, very, very quickly if we, really become successful. Another thing, this is the Signify. These are Signify lamps. Recently, they won an award. There's been some talk about them again. And this is the Philips MyCreation droplet pendant you see in front of you. This particular one is made out of Cornish fishing nets that were recycled. Signify, what used to be called Philips Lighting, which is kind of split off. It has been betting really big on 3D printing lighting and all sorts of lighting components. And indeed, they have, a significant number of 3D printers printing these components and printing direct-to-consumer products and customizable direct-to-consumer products. And this is an application I want to bring to your attention. A lot of people don't seem to know about it. It's much bigger than people think. And I just saw this press item And I thought, well, we should really talk about this because this is a much bigger application than people think. If we look at this, for example, the idea, the rationale, of course, is that they can make shapes that other people can make in much lower volume. So they have an advantage of bringing out models much quicker and bringing them to the market much cheaper in lower volume, and they have less of a fashion risk where they have to make a mold, they have to make 10,000 or something, and then they end up with unsold inventory. So this is to me a wonderful reason to use this, and I think we really need to realize how amazing it is that Signify is doing this. They're doing this with FDM, material extrusion printers, and they're making lots of different lights. So I just wanted to showcase some of the different ones that we're making here out of FDM. Reportedly, they're using polycarbonate materials they're very familiar with already from the lighting industry, but they really are manufacturing these things on demand. They're manufacturing quite close to the consumer, and they're manufacturing in a much more flexible way than previously. If you look at these models, there's quite a variation they can get, and even in some cases, they're talking about like that the natural kind of impurities of the 3D printer or something are creating like a unique object. And there's a couple of companies like Gantry is doing something very similar as well. They're doing also lighting solutions, which I really like. But this is something that Materialized pioneered, of course, a very, very long time ago. But this could be much bigger, and it should be much bigger. I think there should be more companies thinking about these lighting solutions and printing these things because I think the application is absolutely fantastic, and I think it could really give companies a real edge, especially in a much more fragmented, much more fashion conscious, much more fickle market. Um, and yeah, so that's what I really wanted to point out. I thought about this and I thought, it's actually quite amazing what Signify is doing. And it's quite amazing that we're not really paying attention to them today. All right. So, hey, thank you very much for your time. My name is Joris Peels, and this is thanks to 3dprint.com. This is another edition of 3D Printing News on